Alright, guys, today we're gonna be reacting to the truth about living in Germany, an American's point of view. It's gonna be saucy. Make sure you like and subscribe. Let's jump in, let's see what's going on here.
So when I landed in Germany, I remember the first thing that was kind of a shock was hopping on a train. I had never been on a train. Now it seems really normal, but
Remember, guys, a lot of these people, they're living in the middle of nowhere, they don't have a train here in the United States. A lot of Midwesterners, they don't have a train. So I'm not surprised.
I hopped on a train, went through the beautiful countrysides of Germany down to a little city called Marana. And I remember being kind of shocked at how small it was and that we had a car. And then there were little tiny things that were shocking to me. I mean, just for the fun of saying what they were, there was like a light switch. They're not like switches, they're kind of like pads. So you hit a whole entire pad. Or the pillows, they're not rectangle, they're squares. And they're windows. They don't open up and down or side to side. They tip in and out. And they open kind of like a door.
Where does this dude live, man? Where is this dude from? He probably was from Maine, probably. East side of the United States. A lot of these things are very common here in the Midwest. Only the real square thing probably is not common, but windows, they probably open, tail to the side, right? They not necessarily have to open like this. Well, sometimes they open like this. This guy gave me like a Massachusetts kind of vibe. He look like Irish.
So there was a lot of little differences like that. They have, I mean, our apartment had our washer and dryer in the kitchen.
Oh,
And
that's
then
weird.
I thought that was just our apartment, and then I realized
That's weird.
a lot of apartments are like that. So
That's
those were
weird.
little tiny things, but nothing big. My favorite food in Germany is just schnitzel and rotkohl. Rotkohl is just red cabbage, and
Yeah.
they would have Kluse. So that's basically it looks like a potato, but it's not. It's just a dumpling. I guess that's what it is in
It
English.
looks like a potato, but it's a dumpling. So meaning, it looks like a potato, but it has meat in it. I guess.
And uh, and that was my favorite. Was when we just had schnitzel, rotkohl, and Kluse. I also really liked rouladen, which was
Baladen.
just meat rolled up and they'd marinate it, and it just tasted really good. I
Mm.
like their meat. Simply said.
Hey, let's go.
I
Hey, I'm telling you, when it comes down to German cuisine, one of the things that I really love, they're not afraid to show you how much meat they like. And it's interesting, right? Because in the last couple of years, and I noticed this, people are not people, but there's a culture trying to shame people for liking meat. And something that I really like about Germans, you got it right. Meat, you guys eat a lot of meat, and I love that.
really learned to like red cabbage, which I disliked. I also liked sauerkraut. Didn't like
Mm,
that either. So, but
interesting.
by the end, I pretty much liked anything they put in front of me. The weather in Germany is similar to here in Utah. I mean, the hots are a little bit
Oh,
hotter.
this guy's from Utah. This guy's from Utah. No wonder a lot of these things doesn't make sense to him. Man, Utah is just a desert, very dirty, and it's a little bit to the side of Wyoming. Yeah, Wyoming is cold, man. The state of Wyoming is cold as hell. So, yeah, those part of the country they're very different, very different.
The colds are a little bit colder due to the humidity. I really like their traditions that revolve around music and the
Yep.
traditions that revolve around Christmas.
There we go. Now you bring that back home. Remember that.
They start Christmas at the very beginning of December, and they have the Advent site, which is the time
Octavitas.
of the Advent, and they have these Advent calendars and they have Advent wreaths, and they celebrate each Sunday prior to the Christmas morning, and that's a tradition that I would want to hold up for the rest of my life with my family.
Wow.
And another tradition that I found interesting was they open their gifts on Christmas Eve, which is interesting to me. I always thought you do it Christmas morning, but
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? Yeah, in Puerto Rico, we actually do it. Sometimes we do it in Christmas Eve, and sometimes we do them in Christmas. Interesting, right? That's interesting. Yeah,
Germans are a little bit different that way. Let's
Yeah.
see. Another cultural thing about Germany is the public transportation. So you don't see as many
Homeless.
cars in cities, and the roads aren't very wide because they uh,
Small country.
they all take public transportation. It was
Oh,
interesting because
good
I spent
point.
majority of it on the east side, which was under communist rule, where the DDR was these last not too long ago. And so we met a lot of people who were communists. I never thought that I would become friends with a bunch of communists. It just never crossed
That's
my mind as an American. But
funny. So you guys still have a lot of communists over there? Well, I don't know. Let me see when this video was loaded. That was 4 years ago. That's 2020. That's not that far away. 2020 and 2019. Not that far away. There's a lot of communists there, man. Really? Well, yeah, it makes sense because the East Germany um got reunified only a couple years ago, so that makes sense.
but it ended up being wonderful. I had a lot of friends that had a lot of different political views that I had never really viewed before. I learned to respect other people's opinions a lot more, to not be so hasty to judging. And I
Yeah.
realized that the ideals of communism can be appealing. I mean, maybe I shouldn't categorize them all as communists. A lot of them were just socialist and had more of those communistic ideals.
Mm.
But it was still an eye opener to me when I started making friends with people with other political perspectives. If you're wanting to learn German, the key to speaking any language, I think, is
Just go there.
speaking it constantly, and you can do it. I didn't think I was going to be able to learn a language, but I got a lot of support from my siblings who would write me letters saying, "Oh, you can try something more like this, try something like that." For example, my sister, she plays the piano, so she kept telling me to continue to study and memorize the charts of the German language, which tell you der, die, and das, so the masculine, feminine, and neuter
Yeah.
cases, and when it's going to be nominative, dative, genitive, things like that. And you memorize these endings, and she compared those to a scale, like when you're learning the piano. And so she said, just keep memorizing those, and that proved to be really beneficial.
Wow, that's a good tip.
Also,
You know what's crazy? I was
learning,
not thinking about it like that. I was just roll. I was just rolling the dice with Duolingo. Duolingo has helped me a lot. Has helped me a lot. However, this kind of metaphor really works. Yeah, memorizing those um, rules will help me a lot.
learning German, the first thing I learned is was bedeutet. So what does this word mean? So you'd say was bedeutet
That's what I do it.
house, and then they'd say in English house. So that makes it so you can continue a conversation just by asking somebody, what does that word mean, and then they can answer that. And then the second sentence I learned was wie sagt man. Wie sagt man means how do you say tree? So wie sagt man tree, and then they'd say Baum. So those two sentences were the first things I learned in German.
That's good.
And then from there, if you're stranded on the street, you
Wing it.
have to speak. You can always
wing
struggle
it.
to put a sentence together. But really, in the end, learning the language wasn't the issue. After about 4 months, it was no longer an issue. I
Wow.
just woke up, studied the language,
Good for him, man.
and it just came pretty naturally.
Well, good for him. Good job, man. Good job to the young gentleman here. I remember when I came to the state, to the mainland, I studied English my entire life, but I didn't use it, so I struggled a lot. I remember my first 2 weeks were a hell, man. I'm telling you, I was having so much trouble. I didn't know how to just say things, but I don't know, something just clicked, and I just went with it. I just went with it. Now doing sales for the last, I would say, 8 years has helped me a lot to recognize certain muscles that I have in my mouth that are not good. I think having Spanish, Puerto Rican Spanish, let me just emphasize that. We tend to be lazy in the upper lips, talking like this a lot, and not moving the lips a lot, and you start to sound kind of mumbly. And I recognized back when I started doing sales that I have a lot of problems. I'm not pronouncing certain words because my muscles were not developed correctly. So I had to retrain myself and make sure that people at least could understand what I was trying to say. And not because I didn't know how to say it, it's just that I needed to retrain my mouth. And in segue to that, I started checking my Spanish, and I started recording myself, and I said to myself, "Oh, I need to relearn Spanish. I'm not speaking Spanish correctly." And I have been doing this for the last couple of years, and certainly I have improved a lot, and a lot of people has given me a lot of praise because of it. However, I might say the same thing will be same thing. I was I will say about German. I'm training myself to just pronounce certain things correctly from the beginning, out of the get go, and most importantly, recording what I'm saying. Since I don't have a teacher, I need to recognize when I'm wrong and just be honest with myself. And the best way we can do that is with a recording. And I learned actually that from music. There's no better teacher than recording yourself. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Shout out to the kid here, and I thought he was from Maine. He looks like an Irish guy from Massachusetts. Well, but yeah, he lives in Utah. There's no trains over there. Maybe one or two cargo trains. So him having the experience of a train makes sense. There's no trains over there. In Wyoming, there was no trains there. Cargo train. That's it. You're in the middle of nowhere, and if you have no car, you're done. I remember that I needed to take a a small Uber car just to drive 3 hours to get to Denver airport. And man, when I tell you that was one of my weirdest experience in the United States, it was. Wyoming was so interesting because it was beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful people. Snow is it was almost the entire year. Believe me, in August, those people get snow in August. That's how crazy it is now over there. But it was in the middle of nowhere. Literally, you're in the middle of nowhere, desert. Probably what 20,000 people in that area. Downtown, you can literally walk downtown, probably in 20 minutes. Not even that. I would say 15 minutes. You can walk downtown from one side. You know what? 10 minutes. You can walk downtown from one side to the other. That's how big is that city. It's very small. Either or, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And I would like to hear what he said about East Germany. Do you guys still have a lot of communists in that region? I would love to hear your opinions. I'll see you next one.